What's up, everybody? It's DJax here from Alpha Cybersecurity, and today we are going to work on day 10 of TryHackMe's Advent of Cyber event. Today's challenge is called Offense is the Best Defense, and right here we have none other than my good friend Philip Wiley, who is doing the guest speaking for today's challenge. If you guys don't know Philip Wiley, please go follow him and follow what he's doing with the Pwn School. I think he has his own YouTube channel. It's like Philip Wiley, and I think he also has a Pwn School YouTube channel. And he also has a podcast called The Hacker Factory. It's a really great podcast. Has a lot of he's spoken to a lot of interesting guests, including yours truly. And yeah, Phil's just a great guy. So please go support Phil. I love that TryHackMe reached out to him, and we're going to get right into the challenge. So before we get started, please remember to like this video, comment in the section below, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell for notifications. This way you'll be notified whenever I post any videos like this, or I do my live streams, or I do my weekly podcast, InfoSec Unplugged, which airs every Thursday at 6 p.m. So please do that, and we'd appreciate the support. And with that, let's get right into the story. So I already went ahead and started up the machine and the attack machine, so we don't have to wait for that. So we're going to read the story now. McSkitty is trying to discover how the attackers managed to penetrate the network and cause damage to the Best Festival Company's infrastructure. She decided to start doing a security assessment of her systems to discover how Grinch Enterprises managed to cause this damage. She started by conducting a security assessment of her systems to discover how Grinch Enterprises managed to cause this damage and wonders what service they exploited. Before McSkitty starts firing up NMap, let's review some of the keywords related to her task. If you're familiar with the terms IP address, protocol, server, and port number, feel free to skip to the following 3 sections and start directly with the NMap section. So, I mean, we've worked on IP addresses already, so, you know, IP addresses is the logical address that every device or web application or service uses. Every computer that connects to any internet or with any internet access has an IP address. So, here's just kind of going into how to look for your IP address, different commands you can use for IP address. And that's pretty cut and dry. If you want to learn more about it, you can check out TryHackMe's Network Fundamentals module. Tells you everything you need to know. The next thing that they have here are protocols and servers. So you have different protocols that for different services that are going on these IP addresses and the ports that they have open. So it says here, let's say that we want to set up a website and we've made it accessible to the whole internet. In order to make sure the website is accessible to the users and on the internet, a public IP address is required. A web server is a program that listens for incoming connections, usually from web browsers, and responds to their requests. Server usually refers to a computer system that provides services to other clients, i.e. other computers over a network. Example services include serving web pages, delivering email, and facilitating video conferencing. For the client computer to communicate with the server, a specific protocol must be followed. And then it gives you this analogy of like a customer and a barista. So this is basically, with the communication going back and forth. This is similar to what happens during a network connection. Since I follow this protocol, the other customers might follow a slightly different protocol based on the coffee shop and the country's culture. Some might skip the hello at the beginning and drop thank you at the end. In the human world, this would still work. However, for computers, we need to adopt strict protocol that both clients and servers need to adhere to. This is why we have standard protocols for computers. So some of the protocols we have is a hypertext transfer protocol from HTTP for web servers, DNS for the domain name services or domain name system. That's resolving the host names to IP addresses. You have your mail protocols, POP3 for delivering, and SMTP for sending emails. Telnet is for remote logins, and you have Secure Shell for secure remote login. So these are all different protocols. There are a bunch of protocols, but those are some of the more popular ones. And then the ports that they're connected to. So typically HTTP is port 80. So secure HTTP, which is HTTP with SSL or TLS, and it should be TLS because that's the standard now. It's 443. POP3 is usually 110, SMTP is 25, SSH is 22, Telnet is 21. And like I said, there are several other protocols with several other ports. For example, FTP is 21, DNS is 53, and that's a UDP connection. You have RDP, that's 3389. You have SQL, which is like 3306 for Microsoft. So there's so many different protocols and port numbers, and I highly recommend you getting a basic understanding of each of the basic protocols, or the most popular protocols, and the ports that they're typically assigned to. It goes a long way in your pen testing or just tech career. So it says here, consider the figure below. IP packets coming into the server with the IP address 10.10.13.13 will be delivered to the running process based on the destination port number. For packets of TCP with port number 22, it's going to go to SSH. TCP with port 80 is HTTP. For UDP, or it can be TCP with 53, the destination would be the DNS server. So again, they're not covering TCP and UDP, but if you check out my video, I believe the video I did yesterday on Wireshark, I quickly went over TCP and UDP, but just all you need to know is with TCP, it's not a secure process, but it's more of a secure process than UDP, because TCP makes sure there's actually a connection on the other side before it sends over the data, whereas UDP just kind of sends that data over, and if you get it, you get it. If not, oh well. Think of when you're streaming or you're on like a voice call, like a VoIP call. Sometimes the packet drops, or your game lags, or you're not quite heard completely on the other end of a call. That's usually because a packet dropped, and that's UDP connection. Whereas TCP, the connection, they make sure the connection is there and established before they send that data. So now we're talking about NMap. McSkitty wants to discover what the attacker learned about her and the servers. She starts the attack box and starts the attached virtual machine, and waits for both to fully load. She wants to check which services she has installed on the virtual machine. On the attack box, she opens up a terminal and rushes to run an NMap scan against the VM. McSkitty can run a very basic network port scan using NMap ST or NMap SS. By default, NMap checks the 1,000 most common TCP ports. So a TCP connect scan is when you use the NMap flag ST, and that will attempt to create the three-way handshake that I talked about earlier with a TCP connection, to make sure that the connection is established with every port that it scans. Where the TCP send scan is, it starts off like it wants to do the TCP connection, like it wants to establish that three-way handshake, but it won't make the complete connection. It'll check if the port is open, and then when the port responds and says, yes, I'm open, it says, okay, I don't want to necessarily connect, I just wanted to see if you were open. And that's kind of a quicker way to make the scan, but like I said, TCP is the more accurate option. And then it says to understand the difference between ST. So this is what I was telling you about. ST is like knocking on the door and waiting for someone to open it, and then you greet each other, and then you excuse yourself to leave. Whereas the TCP send scan, or the SS flag, resembles knocking, and once someone answers, you pretend that it wasn't you that knocked and walked away innocently. The latter will make it more difficult for the other party to remember you. So it says answer the questions below, so we're going to get right into the challenge. Help McSkitty run an NMap TCP scan, and how many ports are open between 1 and 100. So we're going to scroll back up, and we're going to split the view, and we're going to open up our attack box. And let's go ahead, and what was our target for our IP? Looks like 10.10.42.178. So we're gonna run NMap. Nope. NMap ST 10.10.42.178. Oops, I fat fingered it at the end. 178. And as you can see, comes back fairly quickly, and it tells us that ports 22 SSH and port 80 HTTP are open. So how many ports are open? 2. What's the smallest port number that's open? 22. What's the service related to the highest port? That was HTTP on port 80. Now it says run the NMap SYN scan. So we're going to just hit up so it brings up the last command we ran. And then we're going to switch out the T flag for the S. And we're going to hit enter again. And now if you look, only difference was, I think this time it was a tad bit quicker, or the latency was less than the first one. So the latency here was 40 and this one was 13, but the ports are also the same. So the ports are still the same, MAC address is still the same, so nothing really changed. Did you get the same results? Yes. Okay, and now we're ready to move to the next question. If you want NMap to detect the version info of services, you can use the NMap-SV flag to get that information. So what is this version number of the web server? So remember, port 80 is our web server. So rather than running a scan on everything again, we can just again hit the up button. We're gonna say SV for service scan, and we're gonna say -P this time, and the -P flag is for port, and we're gonna say 80. Actually, we put it over here. We'll actually, just to make it look cleaner, we'll go -P for 80. And now it's going to run the scan. It's going to be a little bit slower this time around because it's checking for the service information, and it does come back and it says that the service version is Apache HTTP 2.4.49. So we're just going to go ahead and copy this, bring it over to our handy dandy clipboard, copy it there, and then hit paste. Now it says, by checking vulnerabilities related to the installed web server, you learn that there's a critical vulnerability that allows path traversal and remote code execution. Now you can tell McSkitty that Gridge Enterprises use this vulnerability. What is the CVE number of the vulnerability that was solved in version 2.4.51? So we'll just open up our web browser. All right, so we have a web browser open, and now we want to go to, let's look at exploit.db. So exploit-db.com. Okay, so we're here on the exploit database, which is basically exactly what it says. It's a database of all the most popular or known exploits. So we'll just put Apache 2.4.49. And it says here that the vulnerability for Apache HTTP server 2.4.49, the path traversal and remote code execution. So when you click here, it says this is the CVE right here. And then if you click the CVE to read a little bit more information, it gives you the details from the National Vulnerability Database. So here it says the details. There was a flaw found in the change made to a path normalization in Apache server 2.4.49. An attacker could use path traversal attacks to map URLs to files outside the directories configured by an alias-like directives. If files outside of these directories are not protected by the usual default configuration, require all denied, these requests can succeed. If CGI scripts are also enabled for these aliased paths, this could allow for remote code execution. This issue is known to be exploited in the wild. This issue only affects Apache 2.4.49 and not earlier versions. The fix in Apache HTTP server 2.4.50 was found to be incomplete. Oh, so that's a trick question there. So it says, by checking the vulnerabilities related, you learn that there's a critical vulnerability that allows path traversal and remote code execution. Now you can tell McSkitty, well, that Gridge Enterprises used this vulnerability, the CVE number of the vulnerability that was solved in 2.4.51. So I'm gonna say that it was this one, since it wasn't fixed in the first one. So we'll go here and we'll hit. Okay, so it probably wants us to say CVE dash. Okay, it's still not. Oh, I think I still copied and pasted the wrong one. So that's, I didn't use our clipboard. 42013. There we go. Okay, so now it says you are putting all the pieces together and have a good idea of how your web server was exploited. McSkitty is suspicious that the attacker might have installed a backdoor. She asks you to check if there is some service listening on an uncommon port outside of the top 1000 common ports that NMap scans by default. She explains by adding a -P1 to 65535 or -P-. This will scan all 65,535 TCP ports instead of only scanning the 1,000 most common ports. What's the port number that appeared in the results below? Okay, so we need to go back to our terminal. If it will open up. So let's just close this out. All right. So let's clear our terminal. And now we're going to hit up a couple more times. And now this time we want run NMap, and then we'll say -P- for all 65,535 ports. And now obviously this one might take a little bit longer because we're scanning a lot more than just the top 1,000. So we'll give it a couple seconds here.
A few moments later.
Okay, so after a long scan, we finally got our answer. And it looks like Newport 20,212 is open. So we're just gonna go ahead and figure out what that service is. We're going to back up here, and again we're gonna do SV, and we have our IP address, and then we're gonna go -P, and it's gonna be 20,212. And that service is a telnet service. So let's go ahead and answer those questions. 20,212, and the service is, what is it? Telnet. Nope, Telnet D. There you go, Telnet D. Then it says, if you would like to learn more about the topics covered in today's task, we recommend checking out the network security module. And just like that, we are done. So another day, another TryHackMe Advent a Cyber challenge completed. So remember, if you like this video, please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, click the bell for notifications so you can be notified when I go live, when I do any other streams, when I upload any other videos, or when I do InfoSec Unplugged. And leave comments in the comment section below. Let me know what you want to see. Let me know how this worked for you. Let me know if that NMap scan was as long as it was for me. And I will see you guys tomorrow when the next challenge drops. You guys take care, and I will see you later.